American South. He's always there, fighting for freedom over land and air. G.I. Joe!
Hello everybody, Mac here. Welcome back to the show. Today we are taking a look at the G.I.Joe classified series Shockwave. And this guy I am really happy to be having. He was my second favorite figure in the vintage line. My first favorite was Stalker, all the way up until this wave came out, and then Shockwave became my second favorite. Now, even when I was a kid, when I was a teenager, whatever, when Shockwave came out and joined the team, honestly, he didn't make much sense to me because he was SWAT, not military. I know on his file card it said that he had signed up to join the Joes and then his application was accepted. So maybe it's kind of like when pilots sign up to try and join the NASA program and they get, accepted or not. Maybe it's with G.I. Joe, it's the same way. You can sign up whether you've had military service or not, and then they can choose whether they want to take you or not. I don't know. At the time, I didn't care. And truthfully, right now, I don't care much either because Shockwave is cool. He is part of the Detroit SWAT team, and I just love his look, this urban camo that he has going on, the ball cap, everything about him in the vintage line I absolutely loved, and I think I'm going to like this version even better, especially with the riot shield going on here. He always just had a really cool look, a really cool coloring, a really cool aesthetic to me. Now, before we go any further, please, if you like Shockwave, go ahead and drop a like down there below. While you're down there, please remember to do all the YouTube things, like, comment, subscribe if you haven't already subscribed. If you have subscribed, thank you very much. Also, don't forget to check me out on Ko-fi, where for $1 a month, you can get access to exclusive content, early access to the stuff that's going up on YouTube, and other member benefits. Now, on with the show. When I was a kid, Shockwave was actually part of this sub-team that I had made up in my own headcanon. It was sort of like this urban surveillance SWAT team among the Joes, that it was Shockwave, Mutton Junkyard, Lowlight, Barbecue, Lifeline, and Mainframe. I even had a van that they used as their mobile command center that I forget where it came from, but it had computers on the inside. It was Fisher Price, but it was made for this size figure, and the Joes fit in it perfectly. It was just really cool. And Shockwave was the leader of this, urban surveillance, urban SWAT team group. Looking back on it, because of the ranking, he was just a corporal. It really should have been Lowlight or Mutt, and the more I think about it, it probably should have been Mutt. So I'm happy to be getting that group back together in my own headcanon, and I need to find a 1/12 scale van now for them. But getting back to this, let's take a look at the packaging right here that I love. I love this windowless packaging. I love what Classified did. I know I keep saying this, but I'm kind of not looking forward to the return of the window packaging for Classified. We got a great shot of the figure right here. We got a great shot of his accessories, some really good artwork, the G.I. Joe logo, his name across the bottom, up top, more G.I. Joe. On the side here, we have an even better look at that artwork from up front. Over here, we have the QR code, number 105 in the line. And on the back here, we have another layout of the figure, all of his accessories, and some highlights to take a look at on the figure, where he has the shotgun shells right here, but there's no shotgun. And we have a close-up of his head sculpt with his ball cap. So, without further ado, let's pop this open and let's take a look at Hasbro G.I. Joe Classified Series Shockwave. And remember, if you want to pick him up, you can do so at Entertainment Earth. Entertainment Earth is your one-stop shop for all toys, clothing, collectibles, and more. Get the newest from Hasbro, Mattel, Bandai, and Super 7, as well as exclusives that can't be found anywhere else. With over 25 years in the business, Entertainment Earth has what you want. Click the link in the description below. Okay, here he is, one of Detroit's finest, Jason Faria, out of the box, and putting the tape measure to him, we can see that Shockwave is approximately 6 1/4 inches tall to the top of his head. Looking at Shockwave up close, I have to admit that when I first saw this figure, I thought this was going to be a lot of reuse from Beachhead. And while he does have reuse from Beachhead, he doesn't have nearly as much as I thought he was going to have. As a matter of fact, the only reuse he has from Beachhead are the legs right here. that if we bring the Cobra Island beachhead in, you can see that the legs are the same, the boots are the same, the knee pads are the same, even the knife sheaths on the boots are the same. So from the waist down, he's basically beachhead. You can even see it, he still has pinned legs right there, if that's the kind of thing that you worry about. Up top, I'm pretty sure that this buck, arms and all, down to the cuffs, the hands definitely come from Stalker. These are repainted Stalker hands. The arms and buck, I believe, come from, I can't remember if Commando Snake Eyes or Stalker came out first, but I'm pretty sure they use the same buck, and that's the buck and arms that they come from. The neck piece and the head sculpt is completely new, because if you even, let me pop his beret off, whoops, and you can see that there are differences in the head sculpts between Beachhead and Shockwave, which I appreciate, because I honestly thought that Shockwave here was basically just going to be a big repaint of Beachhead. I really appreciate that they took the time to give him a new face sculpt and everything, and sort of kit bash him together. These arm braces here, I believe these are new. I don't think we've seen these before, but they do match the boots. I may be wrong on that, because at first I was looking for them on Beachhead, because I thought Beachhead had them, but he obviously doesn't. So I don't know if these are new or not. I think they are. Let me know if I'm wrong. I also love the vest that he has here, how it sort of has like this SWAT bulletproof vest look to it. He has the shotgun shells up here, like I said, but he doesn't have a shotgun. Also, something that he has is, these being, you know, the arms from Stalker, he has the straight cut for the bicep swivel, and I'm not a fan of that, because you can see like it starts to separate in there. I much prefer the style where it sort of has, you know, this curved cut right there, that it sort of seats in there instead of being flush, so that you don't get the separation like you do on the bicep cut on the arms. So I really wish this was more of like the curved, seated look. I almost wish that they had reused Beachhead's arms, because I kind of like the arms on Beachhead better than the ones that were on Stalker. But with that out of the way, let's take a look at the paint apps, because man is he striking, man does he stand out. The bright blue, the urban camo with the dark blue of the mask, the dark blue of his bulletproof vest here. This looks great. This is, once again, I feel like this is the vintage figure all grown up. Like, it's not exactly the vintage figure. They did do some differences to him, but it's not so much that you wouldn't look at him and go, yeah, this is Shockwave. Now let's take a look at the articulation right here, that his head will do a full 360 spin. He can look up not so well. He can look down fairly well. Arms will do a full 360. He has a butterfly joint. Arms will come up. I'll listen to those detents. Arms will come up to 90. See that whenever you push down on it, you can see that separating. He does have bicep swivel, double jointed elbows with some really good travel. Wrists pivot. This one hinges in and out, and this one hinges up and down. And we'll talk about the problem with that in a moment here. He does have the ab crunch on the buck, and this is a soft enough rubber that you can still utilize the ab crunch. Look at that, how far forward you can get him to pitch. Going back, you can get him to crank back as well. He has the ball joint at the waist that lets you do a full 360 spin. You can get some back out of him. You can get some forward out of that ball joint. You can also get just a little bit of side-to-side rock, but honestly not much. Drop down hips so the legs can come out straight like that. Come up to just under 90. Thigh cut. Double jointed knees with some really good travel. And like I said, the legs are pinned. You have the boot cut. Ankles rock back. And the ankles rock forward. And you have a forward-facing pin for some rocker. Now let's talk about the buck right here, because I'm having a hard time getting him to just be straight up and down. If I try to pivot him forward on the ball joint, he still has a little bit, he still like arches back a little bit, as you can see, and you get a lot of exposure right here underneath the vest. But if you crank him forward too much, he kind of has that hunched posture going on. You can bring his head up a little bit, but I don't know, there's just something about that he looks kind of hunched forward, that for some reason it seems like the detent on his ab crunch, like that's ideally where it should be, but that's like right on the middle of a detent right there. And I don't have that problem with Stalker or with the Commando Snake Eyes, so I don't know what happened here, unless you're supposed to bring him forward a little. I don't know, like he doesn't really rock back and forth on that ball joint on the waist. That is an annoyance. That's like my one annoyance right there with his articulation, other than the arm separating. But you see right here, like if you put it like right in the middle of that detent, like that is perfect. But like if you nudge him forward or back a little bit, that's where he snaps into position. So that's frustrating, that's annoying, but it's not, I don't think it's horrible. It's just something you need to be aware of. Also, something else I wanted to bring up forward and take a look is the eye paint on mine. He has a little bit of a lazy eye right here, it looks. That the paint app, it isn't looking forward very well. I think they're sort of kicked off to the side right here like this, because looking at the package, this one is supposed to look straight and this one is supposed to look straight ahead, but it's supposed to be like a little squinted, like he's giving you attitude. But honestly, with the way the paint apps are, it kind of looks like he's looking like a little bit of side eye right there. So I don't know if that's just mine or if that's the way he's supposed to be painted, but he does look like he's given a bit of side eye instead of looking straight forward, because looking at this, it might just be me, but it looks like he's gazing off that way a bit. Now, as far as accessories go, the first thing we're going to take a look at is his cap, because what is Shockwave without his cap? Much like the Beachhead figure, he does have a very nice tight fit with his cap, just like how Beachhead's beret fits on there nice and tight. This fits on nice and tight, that it's not going to pop off or anything. And it completes his look. It looks good on him. Shockwave had that cap. I love that it carries over the urban camo. Even along the sides here, this side is kind of blank, but they do carry the pattern around for the most part. It also looks good, like if he had a sniper rifle or if he was looking down the sights of something, he can swap it around so he's wearing it backwards. Like that actually I think works for him. I think it looks cool. Like if he had a rifle up and he was looking down the sights, so he could swing that around to get it out of his way. But I do like the cap. I like that the caps are separate pieces, because I think it's pretty cool, because this looks good without it too. Like this looks very tactical like this, but I like this as well. Beachhead also comes with a pair of combat knives. That he has your basic stabby with a bit of a serrated back edge right here. Like it's serrated right in there, but honestly, the mold isn't great. It's a little chunky, it's a little too big, and you really lose some detail with it. This fits on the sheath right here across the front of his vest. Whoop. It's very soft rubber, as you can see. It fits right in there. Looks good up top. Then he has another one right here, another knife that I believe this is for like cutting through tripwires, cutting through barbed wires, basically like cutting through any kind of wire or wire fence, things like that. I think that is what this hook is here for. And there's a little bit of a serration right there. As a matter of fact, I'm not even sure this would be a knife so much as just like an infiltration tool. I'm not entirely sure, because it does have the serration right there, but I don't see where there would be a blade at. If you know what this is, let me know, because once again, this is kind of chonky and some of the detail is lost in the mold right here. Also, just like the knife on its chest, this has one of my pet peeves, that it's just all black. There's no silvering for the blade or any detail on the handle. I mean, like, the handles do have some pretty decent sculpt work on it. But once again, it's big, it's chunky, and it's a little bit featureless. And this fits in the sheath on his boot like so. Something else that he comes with, which once we get Law and Order, we'll probably see this again. This is his policeman's baton. And I think this is kind of cool accessory for him. Something else for like melee riot gear type thing. I think this is really neat. I like how it's the tonfa style baton instead of like the snap out baton. I like the extra detail on the handles right there. There's really nothing along the shaft of it right there. Also, there's no place to store this on him, which surprises me because G.I. Joe Classified, you can typically fit all of their gear on the figure. And I was really expecting there to be like a belt loop or something so that he could like even just like hang it off the side, or if there was a way to like tuck it across the back right here or something. I'm genuinely surprised that there's no, like, not even along his sheaths, his weapon holsters right here, is there some place to like store this. That is genuinely surprising to me. Now you can put this in his hand, but you may remember with the Stalker video, I said that the hands are very tight and the fingers are very small on Stalker. These being reuse, you have a lot of the same problem, that the grip is very tight and the fingers are very small. So the handle, he gets a decent grip on it, but you really have to like kind of work it in there, and then he'll be able to wield it however you want. He can have it in. See what I mean? It's popping out again. He can have it going out, or he can just be holding it billy club style. Like that. For his firearms, he comes with a pair of twin micro Uzis. I couldn't figure out if these were mini MAC-10s or micro Uzis, but because of this part of the barrel, the forebarrel right there, I think they're micro Uzis. And he does have two of them right here. That, once again, the detail isn't bad. There's not a whole lot of paint apps on them. You can see that they're bored out for blast effects as well, and each one of them has a removable magazine. He only comes with 2 magazines, though, one for each weapon right there. And I don't hate these, but it's not what he had in the vintage figure. And I know they're doing some updating to the weapons, but I really feel like the weapon that he had in the vintage line is still relevant and would have worked better than these. Because I can't remember, I think it was a standard MAC-10 with the attachable stock, and it had a suppressor on it. It looked a lot better, and with the suppressor on it, considering he was like in urban combat, I kind of feel like that was the better choice. Also, I don't know, it's kind of ridiculous to me that he has these like micro Uzis, and he can holster them like they're just like twin pistols. I don't know, I would have rather seen his old style, like, suppressed Uzi with the stock on it. As a matter of fact, we have enough Snake Eyes. Oops, stand up, Shockwave. We have enough Snake Eyes that I think this Uzi, one of the Snake Eyes Uzis with the suppressor on it, I think this is going to replace his weapons, and I may slip off those holsters off of his legs and just give him this rather than those micros down there. And finally, we come to the Riot Shield, and I first really loved this when I saw it in the photos, when I saw it on the package, when I saw it like even at the reveal. I thought a Riot Shield for Shockwave, who is basically described as being the first guy in the door. This makes sense for him. I even like how they put like these halogens up front. Never mind, these would probably be the first things that were shot out. And also like the kill count of Cobras up top. But the problem is that when you flip it over on the back, the bracket and the handle are set up for right-handed use. That's wrong. This should be set up for the left hand, and I'll tell you why. There's a couple of reasons why. First of all, like we said, his trigger hand is on his right side. that the right hand is the one that pivots up and down, which is what the weapon hands are supposed to do, and the left hand is the one that pivots in and out, which is what the shield hand should do. Also, just looking at the shield, you see this cut? This cut is there for a reason. Let me get one of his Uzis out. The cut is there for a reason so that he can hold the shield up and then have the weapon poking out right here so that his trigger hand isn't exposed as he's advancing and firing. If this is on his right hand and he's wielding with his left, he has to reach across and it just doesn't work. So this is actually glued in there. I think after this video is over, I'm going to try to get like some acetone or something and try and pry this out so I can flip it and glue it back in so that it is set up for his left hand. Now, let me take the baton out. Let me put the Uzi back in the holster. Once again, him having small hands, there is the problem that it doesn't even fit very well in there, and then the clip is doing most of the work. You can see, let me turn the light on so you can actually see. You can see that the hand doesn't really have a good grip on it. It's basically just the thumb holding it in place, and then the wrist grip is holding it in place. And it's really frustrating that it's on the wrong hand because it does look good. It looks good for him, it suits his character, and I really dig it. Now, if you want to, you can kind of cheat to put it on his left hand over here, that this will just be riding the wrist and you can sort of pop the clip on and see how it's just seated in there so that he can have it on his left, but it's probably not going to stay on very well. This clip is a very soft rubber and it will eventually stretch. You really need to have him being able to grip it. So I 100% think that I am going to try to unglue that so I can swap it around and have the shield in his correct hand. And now for size comparison, here he is beside two other figures from that urban special ops team that I had created, G.I.Joe Classified Series Lowlight and Barbecue. Here he is beside Valaverse Action Force Desert Rat and Pandora. Here he is beside Hasbro Marvel Legends Captain Marvel and Elektra. And here he is beside Lanyard Toys City Hunter Predator and Xenomorph Drone. And man, if they had had decent Predator figures when I was a kid, there would have been a whole week-long story arc of him and his team trying to hunt a Predator down in the city. Here he is beside Mattel Masterverse 40th Anniversary He-Man and Masters of the Universe movie Skeletor. And finally, here he is beside NECA Toys Dungeons & Dragons Warduke and Grimsword. So while I loved Shockwave when I was a kid, and I still love Shockwave now, and I love the idea of getting that urban specialist unit back together, all I need now is to pick up Mutt and Junkyard, and then I need them to bring out Lifeline and Mainframe. But other than that, like, other than loving the character itself, I have to admit I'm a little disappointed with the follow-through with this figure. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying I don't like it. I do like it, and maybe my expectations were just too high because of the fond memories I have of this figure and playing with this figure and like what Shockwave was in my headcanon when I was playing G.I. Joe. But the shield being on the wrong arm is a big miss. That needs to be fixed. I'm definitely going to have to try and unglue that, flip the handle, and glue it back on the right way. The two micro Uzis, I could have done without those. They're kind of hokey having dual-wielding Uzis like that. I would have much rather he had his fully kitted out MAC-10 with the suppressor and the stock. That would have been, I think, a nicer touch for a character, a figure like this. Also, the detents in the ab crunch not seating perfectly right, that's a little bit of annoyance. And the eyes not looking forward, that is an annoyance too. Any one of these things on its own would not have been a big deal. Even the shield, if it was just the shield, that would not have been a big deal. But all of these little things together, that adds up to like sort of like a death by 1,000 paper cuts type of thing. That there were just so many little misses that could have been taken care of or could have been like hits from the beginning that it just feels like they didn't put enough thought into this figure. And I shouldn't say it that way. I'm sure thought did go into this figure, but it doesn't seem like, as far as the accessories go, they took it as far as it could have gone. Also, speaking of, like, you know, minor nitpicks, I would have loved for them to have painted the blade on his knives, because like I said during the review, the knives are a little chonky and they lose some detail that silver paint on the blades would have gone a long way to make them pop and stand out a little bit more. The figure itself, I don't have a problem with. I love the look of him. I love the urban camo on him. I love the coloring of him. He's definitely going to pop on the shelf. He's definitely going to stand out among the Joes, which for the most part, the Joes are all various shades of dark to light green with a few different colorings here and there, like low light, like barbecue. He's definitely going to stand out on the shelf, and I really like that. The paint apps of this figure are spot on. The paint apps on the hands, the paint apps on the urban camo, on his torso, on his uniform, on his hat, all of that is spot on. Even the shotgun shells that don't serve any purpose, the paint apps right there are spot on, which makes the eyes even more frustrating that they're kicked off to the side. If he is supposed to have side eye, that's even more annoying. I would have rather that it just would have been the paint apps that are off rather than him having side eye. He should really be, you know, focused forward. Like I said, a lot of these things are nitpicks, but like the nitpicks do add up. Maybe even some of them are just like personal opinions, personal issues, but I just keep going back to that shield. The shield being on the wrong arm is a huge miss that needs to be taken care of. But past that, I do like the character, as I've said, and I do like this figure, and I am really glad Shockwave is back on the team, and I am really glad Shockwave is back in my collection. So let me know what you think down in the comments below. How do you feel about Shockwave? How do you feel about this interpretation of Shockwave? How do you feel about the Night Force Shockwave that's coming out? Because even back in the day, I didn't think Shockwave should be on Night Force. I think I'm going to keep this version of him on the shelf. So let me know, comment down below, and until next time, my friends, play well, stay safe, stay healthy, and as always, thank you for watching.